start, Raven.
Okay. Well, why don't we do one where you start?
Okay. Great idea. Yeah. Hi, I'm Adrian Pickering. I'm an actor.
And I'm Raywin Pickering, a farmer who does comedy.
And we are sisters. And this is our podcast, Is This a Job? Where we're going to talk to creatives, musicians, actors, writers, songwriters,
artists, podcasters, anyone. Editors, yeah.
Maybe.
We're going to ask them why. How can you do this as a job? How do you make a living out of this?
How do you have this as a career and not fall to pieces?
Hard.
But it's
why
also
are we
really
doing
funny.
this? It's going to be funny.
Stay with us. It's funny too.
Yeah.
And enriching, hopefully, sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's funny.
Let's ask them. Shut up, Ray.
So we want to know why they do it, how they do it. Why do we do it? Is this a job?
Is this a job?
It's a job.
Highly unlikely.
What have you done? This week.
That could be the
What
name
have
of the
you
show.
done?
What have you
What
done?
have you done?
What have you done? This is like
Oh, don't worry.
this is
We'll
one of
ask
those,
you.
like interviews that are just tanking.
Yeah. How have you
Where
feel?
they say like,
have you
"What's
felt?
next on the horizon for you, Adrian?"
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's
you
like,
just
what's
sort of
next?
like
You're
your
like,
dry
are you going to
mouth
be
gulps.
in the fetal position later today? Or
Yes. No.
had a good week?
I've had a pretty good week. I'm sort of like, I'm in this phase where I feel like I'm really ready for the next big thing. But you know, like in terms of job wise, I'd really like to like kind of throw myself into something that is not family related and that is not like is some like a really challenging role.
Podcast hosting.
Yeah.
Podcast hosting role.
This is the gritty. Yeah. Go down
But
and
like-
do math between.
Raywin, no, I'm not doing meth. It's okay,
Well, you
Dad,
have
I'm not
in your
doing
past
meth.
roles. That's
Well,
what I was
yeah.
thinking.
Oh,
It's like,
I
oh,
see. That's a challenging role. Yeah, I'm really typecast.
Ada has actually been on Neighbours as a meth addict.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
no, you're totally incorrect. You didn't even watch it. See,
Well,
this is what I'm saying. You
I'm
never
very
support
busy.
me. No, I was a character who was on the methadone program, but because it was so she's no longer recovering heroin addict, but it's Neighbours, so no one can actually say what
Heroin.
it is she's taking or anything, and so like. I just look like the person who didn't fit into Ramsay Street, as it turned out, I think.
And they
But-
would have like.
but good on them for doing it.
I
for being
guess. Yeah.
brave enough.
Brave enough.
I don't
but
know.
in like, well, how you were explaining it was like, it could be just the street of this studio. Like they're showing some kind of like,
It was the
industrial-
street behind it.
This is Brunswick.
I joke
Yeah.
about it being Ramsay Lane,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like it literally was. It was like behind the cafes and stuff because it's, you know.
Pretty
You never
hardened.
see the
Pretty
seedy
hardened.
underbelly
No,
of
Ramsey.
Erinsborough.
Yeah. Dr. Carl's getting into
Well,
behind the cafe.
You didn't steal
Yeah.
from Paul at Lassiter's or anything
No,
like that?
I'll be honest, you didn't see a lot of the seedy underside.
Inferred
It's
sort of,
very
you're just-
G-rated
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of show. So,
Yeah.
Is it still on at 6:30?
like-
It's like
Yeah,
a real,
6:30 families watching it, but you know, like still an important
Families.
subject
Yeah.
matter.
Little
Yeah.
kids asking, what's the
Well, little-
methadone program, mummy?
Sadly, yes, probably they are.
Yeah. I mean, thank goodness you enlightened those children.
There's a role to play,
Yeah.
and those sorts of characters. But
Yeah.
no,
But
I
you've had
don't
a good week.
necessarily
You had,
want to
like,
do
some
that. but
self-tapes that
Yeah.
is a whole interesting
Been
thing.
doing
We
some
could talk about that.
self-taping. Yes,
Yeah.
but this is, I think, like my overarching theme of the week is like how to feel empowered when you feel totally powerless to do the creative thing that you want to do, and you're sort of in a bit of like a space where it's not quite there yet, and you've got a few leads, but it's like you're not quite there, and I feel like I just want to be there. I'm just sort of like a little bit impatient.
Yeah.
That
You know,
sounds like
yeah.
a one-woman show's coming up.
Absolutely.
That's the difference. Raywin can just write a new joke and
Yeah.
go perform it tonight if she wants to.
Exactly.
Whereas
Yes,
you've
this
got
is
a
it.
Yeah.
lot more to get through.
You've got to wait.
You gotta wait
Yeah.
a while, and the timing.
And then
has
you
to
just
be
get
pretty
whatever,
spot on.
like, I mean, not whatever.
You just
but
get
like,
whatever's
but
thrown
it's
at
like-
you.
but
Summary
it's
of
like
my
it's,
career.
as in,
Yeah.
it's not like you're writing something. It's like, oh, you have to hopefully get this character that
Yeah.
you're like invested in or whatever.
That's the thing, I
Anyway.
think, when you're
Yeah.
not producing or writing,
Yeah.
you are sort of powerless. So until I take that leap, I
Yeah.
will ever be complaining
Yeah.
about my powerlessness. But
Yeah.
eh,
Oh well.
But I mean, for
It's pretty
working in
good.
Australia,
Good
most of your
time.
work's
Pretty
in
good.
Australia, right?
Yeah.
You've
nearly all my
I
work
looked
is
at
in
your
Australia.
filmography the other day, and it's like there's not a lot of gaps. Like you're
I was
always
gonna say,
working.
there's not a lot on there.
No, there's heaps of stuff. Like I know
Yeah.
you mainly from Rake, which was huge and went for multiple
Yeah.
seasons. But
Yeah,
you've been working pretty much non-stop
Yeah.
since then.
Look, this is what I tell myself in these moments.
Yeah.
When I think like, is this it? Have I like reached the
Yeah.
pinnacle of, I've done some really great roles that I think I feel really proud of. And in these moments where you're sort of between stuff, and I mean, we all don't know what's around the corner. Like
No.
maybe in another
That's what
amazing
the-
role will
yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Or something I will feel really proud of. But
Do you think back to previous times you've felt that way? Because I sometimes think, I wish and it's in different things, like between relationships or between work, different sort of jobs or whatever. And I just think, I wish I just could go back and go, it's going to be all right. Just enjoy this time.
Yeah.
You got a bit of a break.
Yeah,
Enjoy it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Enjoy the time off.
Yeah, that's it. Enjoy the time off rather than seeing it as being unemployed.
Yeah.
That's like my forever
I guess that's
goal.
such the well, yeah, but that's the nature of your work. Like you're employed for like a few months,
Yeah.
and then it's like unemployed
Thanks, Rose.
for like till the next one. Though
It
it's
is.
not like it's like this really
Yes.
steady income that you're like going
Yes.
to. You've got it. Yeah,
Unless you're toadfish on Neighbours or
yeah.
And
You
that's
luck
the
out.
appeal of those jobs, I
Exactly.
Yeah,
think.
I
Like,
bet.
and also different. I think at different times in your life, you really want different things.
Yeah.
And so, I guess like the earlier parts of my career, I was pretty okay with just jumping around and doing stuff here and there, and like,
Yeah.
jumping on a plane and doing something at the last minute. But because I don't want to do that anymore, like I've got a family and it's harder to do that. And I also don't want to be away for greater lengths of time. And
Yeah.
I guess it just like, it sort of narrows
yeah.
the field. And I don't know. I also just
So now you're like pivoting to
pivoting.
yeah, pivoting. Yeah. Anyway.
what's Melbourne like for acting work?
Melbourne's great for acting work. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. But is it the stuff that is like written for Adrian Pickering? Who knows? Like, that's the thing is like it's a very small industry. So there's heaps going on, but it's not necessarily going to all have me in it.
Yeah.
Like
You're not
so
going to
even if
be
it's
like
really
the star
busy,
of
like
the new
you could
musical.
actually be unemployed still, and it could be really busy for the Australian industry. But
yeah.
I think most people would not just work in one city. Like generally, as an actor,
Yeah.
you have to move around. Like, do
Move around
you
a
find
bunch.
that, or have you been able to just sort of like? I mean, you travel quite a bit, Matt.
Yeah,
right?
but it's it's normally for my own things,
Yeah.
it's our own shows
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah,
You're choosing
yeah.
to put them on, like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
the at some level the producer as well as the act and everything,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
makes it a bit different. Rake was Sydney, was it?
It was Sydney, yeah.
And then you've been up in the Northern Territory, is that right?
I have. I spent a little bit of time up there. I did this kids show called Barumbi Kids. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something, I do really like. I got to take my kids
You
up
get
there
to
and
travel.
we spent
Yeah.
a few months in Catherine, outside of Catherine, filming that, which is so vastly different to,
Like looking back, you must, at some point you got to look back and just be like, how great has my career
how
been?
great, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, definitely.
Yeah, when you put it like that.
Let's bring up your filmography.
We've got to do this podcast every day, man. I get
Yeah.
this little voice in my ear, rather than like my sister saying,
Yeah.
"What's on the horizon?"
What's next?
You're gonna be like looking back and saying, "Yeah, I
Sometimes you
feel
gotta
really
look
good
back,
about
Take
that."
stock.
It's
feel,
good.
I think you do.
Yeah.
You really do. I particularly to have any sort of like long-term career, or long-term involvement in these sort of shape-shifting industries. I think you
Well, that's
do
how you
have to
stay
take
positive.
stock.
It's funny,
Yeah.
right, when people read out your career back to you.
Yeah.
On occasion, you're like, oh, that's it. Like if it wasn't
Sounds
me, I'd
good.
be like, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
That feels better than what I would have thought.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe I should introduce you, Matt Stewart.
Yes, we haven't even
Because
got
I haven't
to
even introduced you.
Well, this is the first
so
podcast.
you are. This is the first one.
I would say odds are this never goes public.
Okay.
You'll look back, you go, this is a practice run. We put it in
We'll
the bin.
have you.
This is a
We'll have you
warm-up.
back
This is a
for a
warm-up.
real one.
This will be like the Christmas special that
Yeah,
we'll bring
yeah,
out.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
This will be
Yeah.
behind a paywall somewhere.
A very expensive paywall. Unattainable. But you're a comedian.
You made
you're
me
a
feel
podcaster.
good about myself.
Yeah, but just like saying, yeah. You're a comedian. You're a podcaster. Is that your job? What would
Yeah.
your job be on like a government form?
Oh, I hate
know.
filling
Those
those out.
We were talking about it before.
Yeah.
It's like what
census
what do you?
form.
You don't
Like
want to
the
write
So annoying.
comedian.
You know, like the school
No.
enrollment form where you have to write down like
Or
what
like
your
for this-
what
for
your
this-
job is.
Yeah.
Or what you tell
like
a
a
taxi
census?
driver.
Yeah,
and
so
you're
like, what do you say?
Without feeling shame. I normally
Yeah, but
say,
what do
oh.
you say?
Well, because I mean, I don't work here, but I work here, but I don't work for the
You
company
work.
at the studios here.
Yeah.
But I
You're
like
here.
I started this studios
Yeah.
with friends 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had worked here at different points. So, but that's what I often say. I'll say something like studio manager or something, even though
Yeah.
Studio manager.
it's just so vague.
Yeah.
Because I feel
Surely
But it
that's
also
not on a
doesn't really
drop-down menu
sound-
anywhere,
No,
Matt
no.
Stewart.
what do you want me? I don't.
It
Like,
also
'cause-
doesn't
manager.
sound very creative at all.
No,
like
that's
it's
why
funny
it's
that
boring.
you've
There's-
chose.
There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
follow-up questions because
So
I
you're
hate talking.
defining yourself by the
Yeah.
most boring description.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why, but if I am in a taxi on the way to the airport and they say, "What are you
yeah.
up to?" I
don't
don't.
wanna-
I'm like, I feel awful.
Yeah.
Saying, "Oh, I'm going to do
I'm a comedian.
festival or something."
Yeah, yeah.
No, comedian. Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't heard of you. No, I know.
Well, I won Raw in 2013
Yeah.
or
I don't
whatever.
know what that is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Here, bring up your link on.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
watch a few bits.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
pretty funny, actually.
Well, okay.
It doesn't go down.
Not
too
really
well.
my kind of thing. Okay.
Okay.
I'm a studio manager.
Yeah.
No
You
follow-up
just
questions?
yeah,
Great.
crunching numbers.
Well,
In
it'll
the-
be what
in the
kind of studio?
Yeah.
What kind of studio? Oh, a bit of filming, bit of audio stuff.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty
making
good.
those podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
They haven't heard of podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
What's a podcast?
Well,
It's,
Something you put in your pocket.
Is that like?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
I get it on the radio?
yeah, so, sort
Oh.
of. Yeah,
Kinda.
you could send it back there.
Yeah.
Full circle.
But it is.
What do you say,
It
Rowan?
is funny.
You say
well,
farmer?
yeah, I say farmer.
Yeah.
Well, because it is. I mean, it does have some follow up questions, just because we're in Melbourne, and they're like, okay. But yeah, it's
Not a
pretty
lot of farmland.
boring. No, there's not a lot
CBD.
of farmland around here. So what do you farm exactly?
The pigeons.
Have you not started
whole
using
hydroponics.
what I've dubbed you Australia's premier
Farm-based
farm-based
comedian.
comedian? You're not
I mean,
using that?
that hasn't
Farm-based.
rolled off the tongue in a taxi. Actually, Australia's premier farm-based comedian, Raywin Pickering, if you haven't heard of me.
To farm animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how vague it is. It's like you perform on a farm or
Yeah,
your materials farm-based.
exclusively
It's
on a
very
farm.
popular with pigs.
Yeah, oh,
They
yeah.
will
Pigs
not
love
get
it.
out of the paddock.
Pigs roll around laughing.
But yeah, no, I often say, farmer. Or that I work on a farm. It's a bit weird to say farmer when you're not. I feel like it's less of being a farmer if you're not actually growing crops. Because I like work with livestock. I feel like a lot of people maybe don't like. They're like, oh, so what do you grow? It's like, well, I
Chickens?
deal with meat, yeah. You know, someone's got to do it. Yeah, it's interesting. But you and I have known each other for a very long time. I often even just say I do comedy. I often don't even say I'm a comedian. I'm just like, I do comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do a bit of stand-up comedy. And then they'll be like, oh, really? Like, for how long? It's like, oh, like, you know, 8 years or something, like, you know. But you actually helped me write my very first little stand-up bit. Yeah, you did. And you like, you were there. You like encouraged me. You got me to sign up at the Wild down in Fitzroy.
I like that
Down
place.
in Fitzroy. But you did.
For a while, that was the best new
It was
material
the
night, I
best
reckon.
open mic. Yeah. To have that third bracket, you had to wait till like 10:30ish at night, and that would even be
a bit spot.
Yeah, but to even know whether you're on the show. So you get there early. So this is what like an open mic is. You
And
get
this was
there.
the best one.
Yeah, this
The way
is
you're
the best one.
describing it doesn't sound that good.
But this
But that was
is
because I never
great.
had to wait. I forget. They would tell me I would only go there if
Yeah.
I was on.
You
That's
would
why I
leave.
liked
Yeah,
it. But
yeah.
that doesn't sound like fun at all.
Yeah.
Waiting till 10:30 to find out if you got your
So you-
5
That's
minutes.
not a
Yeah,
good
so
system.
you have to get there at like, I don't know,
That's
it was
really
like
hard,
7:30
isn't
or
it? Cutting your
something,
teeth.
and you get there, you write your name down on the piece of paper, and then how they worked. So, some places tell you, I think before the show, or like within half an hour, like whether you're on. I'm pretty sure they waited until after the second bracket to tell you. So sometimes you just be watching the show for a couple of hours, which is like, I guess, a good way to run it, because you know that people will stay
They
so that you'll have a crowd for the show.
They probably believe they were doing you a favour. You're learning by
Yeah,
staying.
exactly. Patting themselves on the back.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're like just kind of shitting yourself as like a new comedian, or like, you know, a new person that does comedy in the audience. You're like, oh man, that's going to be me. And you're just like in your own world thinking about it. And then after like a couple hours of this stress, you learn like you're not on. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just go home then.
Yeah, weird mix of relief
and it's like, yeah,
regret
this
and-
relief. Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, well, I didn't get to do it, but thank God I didn't get to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. But yeah, I think Matt maybe pulled some strings, or maybe it's because there's not many women, so they were like, well, chuck her on. Have some diversity.
Raymond.
Have the one
Diversity
person
hire.
in the third round. Well, it's true.
Or maybe you
like,
were just
I'm kind of the
good
same.
and
If
funny.
there's a woman that's like trying out, you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah, you
put them on.
protect them.
Yeah,
Look
you
after
like
them.
that's
Yeah,
like make sure they don't like lose hope.
yeah,
Because there's going to be
100%.
a lot of times
Pretty
when you are
outnumbered.
the only like there's so many times, like,
Yeah.
you know, still like all the time I'll be able to line up with like, you know, just man, it's just part
It's
of it.
interesting, isn't
But
it?
It feels like it's less common, but it's wild that it is still.
it's still
still
definitely
happens.
yeah.
Still very real for you.
Yeah. I mean, even unfortunately, in the Miss Moses, Jordan and I actually run a room. We host as two women, but it's often hard to get
To get other women.
Yeah, to get. I mean, just like because the pool of women is so much smaller, and they're not more likely to like put themselves out there to ask for spots. So you have to like, track them down and like, you know,
Corner them.
corner them. Yeah, sedate them lightly. Like, come on, you can do it. And then if they pull out as well at the last minute, then you're scrambling like on the day, like, oh my God, I've got to find another one. Where do they live?
I'll let
Where do
them
they
get
go?
You should know.
Yeah.
You should know. You're one of them.
Frequent all the watering
Use some of
holes.
your farming skills. That's what
Yeah.
it sounds like. Sedating them.
Get your lasso.
Come on. We hold out a bit of cheese.
That works.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So we've known each other a very long time. That we've
And we've known each other.
I know. So that's not all kind of ties in.
Amazing, isn't it? Since you were born.
Yeah,
Isn't that
that's
amazing?
crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You go way back.
We go
I thought me and Ray
back.
we're tighter than that, but
Yeah,
no.
we could.
Outranked.
You could never win this game.
Yeah, we could argue who has supported me more, but
That's deep.
that's okay. We're
That's
here
deep.
today. Matt is actually
The comedians might be more
he's
cynical,
gonna-
but
Yeah.
we look after each
Yeah.
other. The
But-
Hollywood types, they're all,
Yeah.
hey, life.
Just
let's
like belly gazing.
Come on.
Just like,
That's a lot of
It's
positive
weird.
talk, not a lot of
Yeah.
positive action.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
But really, Matt's here today to help us. You're gonna do your first ever spot.
My first ever spot. My
5 minutes
No,
of
I'm
stand
not.
up.
Is that true?
I never.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
well.
She would die.
You know, I did an improv course once in LA and I got so anxious about it, I had to quit. And it's one of the only things I've ever quit.
Oh, so you didn't even do it?
I couldn't finish it. I think I
You
did
said
2
no.
classes.
You're not supposed to say no.
I said
Jen,
no to
if you
the-
had have actually
Well,
stayed long
actually,
enough,
you know, I
you'd know
actually
you're
think,
supposed to say yes and.
but you know what? Is it technically saying no if you never turn up and never communicate
Yeah.
at all?
Well,
Well,
you're
you
just playing a
ghosted them.
character. You're
Yeah.
the ghost.
I just ghosted.
Yeah. You
I just
committed
got
to
so
that.
anxious about it.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Wow, yeah, that's
Wow.
where Ray and I met. Was it an improv?
An improv, yeah.
And I found that I had a similar experience. I found it very
It
anxiety
was not
inducing.
natural.
Not a good fit for me.
No,
Yeah.
nor me. Yeah. So I'm very
There's a lot
lucky
of
that
comedians
like,
come out of that world, right? So
Yeah. Oh, I guess it's a lot of like almost a jumping off kind of platform. Like, well, for me, but I think a lot of other people that I now talk to, like Prue Blake started in improv, but just a lot of people that it's like, oh, that's how you kind of will start to meet maybe your community of like people. That
Yeah, it's the only organized sort of thing.
Exactly.
I guess.
Because open mics are, I just explained how easy it was to go. No, it's obviously like that whole thing of like, you have to go, you have to like talk to people that you've never met. And you're like, yeah, I think I'm good enough. I'll write my name
Yeah.
down. Like, it's all like, if
got a
like if you
couple of
don't,
jokes.
yeah, exactly. If you don't like know anyone, it is terrifying.
Whereas improv's the
Even-
opposite of that.
Yeah.
It's like got a culty
I don't
sort of
have anything.
friendliness to it, and everyone's so
Yeah,
lovely.
Exactly.
and like confident.
Yeah. That's right. The confidence is
And
is
often like
Yeah.
not actors or not like I think so intimidating.
Yeah.
Though. I just found like I was just in my own like world of so much judgment, like everything was wrong because I
Yes.
was an actor, I think, and so I was sort of like thought that I should be better at this, and had gone through years and years
Make,
of
like,
drama
Yeah,
school
line-
games.
Character choices.
Yeah, but like I couldn't get it right, and I was just, whereas I think
Yeah.
everyone was a bit more unencumbered by, their jobs.
Yeah.
Or being a reflection of like their skill set and was more just an outlet. And so maybe they could come to it more unencumbered.
Maybe
But
you
I-
going back to it, it might be different.
It might be different
Yeah.
now. And maybe I could find some freedom with it. Yeah.
Doing it.
Yeah, it might be, It's been 20 years. Yeah. Ooh,
back
still feel a
into
bit
it.
anxious
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah, just thinking about it.
But just talking about like Raywin's beginnings of comedy, I was just going to ask you, Matt, like could you talk a bit about like when was that first little like glimmer of you
How did
wanting,
you start
wanting
stand-up?
to make
Or, like,
this
even
kind
into
of a
comedy?
job, or when did you sort of think like maybe this could be a thing I do for more than 5 minutes? Like
Oh.
how did you?
Yeah, it was weird. I never had. It was similar to the improv. I never had any confidence. I felt like the imposter syndrome that everyone feels.
Yeah.
Felt that all along, but I grew up in Melbourne in the suburbs, and there just wasn't. I just no. I don't remember it ever even knowing that it was a possible thing to do.
Like comedy.
Yeah, I'd see it on
Did you
TV.
see it? Oh, yeah.
And then I started going like in my late teens. I started
Yeah.
going
Like to
some
comedy
comedy
festivals and
festivals,
stuff?
go see
Yeah.
1 or 2 shows a year.
Yeah.
But I had, it didn't feel like a thing that you could do.
No.
It's these, it's a special skill that people already had. It took me ages. I started pretty late. I did my first gig when I was 29.
What were
And
you doing like before? Like, was it anything like creative or like?
I stumbled upon this on Channel 31, flicking around TV when I was like, after high school one day, and I started watching this show. It was called Sin TV, which was like Student Youth Network had a TV show, and they play videos and stuff, and it was very low budget, one camera with a green screen. and I started following them, and then when I was about to turn 25, I knew that you could only do that until you're
not
25.
a youth.
You weren't a youth anymore.
Yeah. So I was
Pressure's
I'm like, shit, I've been
Now or never.
I just been like, I want to do this. I want to do it, but I didn't know anyone who did it.
Yeah.
It was just in my work. All my friends were tradies or just
Yeah.
going to work in local businesses or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was still working at a supermarket. Travel for a bit, come back. I didn't know what I was doing.
So did you go to uni?
Yeah, I went to uni
Yeah.
as well. I guess.
No, okay.
I forgot about that. Also,
That's how you got into the supermarket.
I did
An arts degree.
I did an arts degree. Yeah, I did a 3-year arts degree in 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And then, I think it was just, I was lucky that there was that age limit because that forced me to make a phone call.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the person I called is now the GM of Stupid Old Studios.
Yeah.
But anyway, and she's like, you actually have until 26. So I had,
Whoa.
I didn't have like
So
a
did you
week.
say,
I had
I'll call you back in a year.
I made a huge mistake. I'm not ready.
Well, I actually called and I said, is the cutoff at 25 or at the end of 25? And like, end of 25. I'm like, I've still got a year.
Wow.
I could do it.
You
And
can live your life.
I signed up on that phone call for the training at Sin, which is a radio station. And then, that's where I met the rest of the team at Stewart Studios.
Oh, right.
So it was just a whole lot of luck. I think at that point I just got a job because my cousin was working at an air conditioning. They sold heating and cooling. They installed heating and cooling. So I got a job as a salesman for a heating and cooling company.
Wow.
And I didn't know.
With your enthusiasm as a salesman.
The interview, the boss went, do you know what evaporative cooling is? I'm like, nah. And he's like, do you know what? I'm like, our family's never had any cooling. I don't even know what it means. But he was like, perfect. I don't want you coming in with any baggage. So I got that job. I had to learn. So like a week later, I'm selling things that I'd not heard of a week before.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you must have been good at it, I guess.
I think I was okay at it. Yeah. But it was funny because I ended up doing it 31.
Selling yourself as a salesman.
No, I was not a good
I was
salesman.
okay.
Was
it commission based?
It was commission based.
Oh
yeah.
no.
And I think I just won the jobs of people who were like, he's clearly not full of shit.
Yeah.
I believe he's not a slick salesman.
Yeah.
And so if you win a third of the quotes, you sort of you make it scrape a living
At
together.
least something.
But one time apparently one of these jobs I sold, I was now on Channel 31 hosting the breakfast show, the Sin breakfast show. It's called Get Cereal TV, and the installer was having trouble with one of the jobs I sold, and the client was like, the guy who was around, he told me this would be possible, and the installer was like, which guy? What was he like? And he's like, oh, he was sort of slow talking, seemed like he was high, which I wasn't. And then he turned and I was on the TV in his house. He goes, that guy. And I was wearing the uniform and everything. It would have been a very surreal moment. So the refrigeration mechanic was like,
uniform?
rush straight
Out
in.
of your uniform. Like a fresh shirt, at least.
Yeah.
Matt.
It was,
Love your name badge on.
It's like real strange moment. But
Just working the two jobs.
So that, and I think just slowly from that, Alistair, who we started Stupid Old with as well, and Andy Matthews, we ended up all living together at the old studio once we all aged out, because I'm the same age as Al and Andy. We all aged out of Sin.
26.
No longer you.
We started renting a warehouse, which we started converting into a studio, and we lived there.
Wow, right.
But Al had already been doing stand-up. He'd be a great person to get on this.
Oh, yeah.
He'd made himself a deal that he'd do 50 gigs before deciding whether he keep going or quit. He can't quit until he
Yeah.
does 50.
Wow.
I
And-
remember you saying that as a rule,
Yeah.
like to me, and it was like you've got to do it like 50 times.
Which I
50's a lot.
I-
Overall, over a year, right? Or,
yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah, as long as it took. But he also, like, he had no in at the time. He didn't know anyone. So he's doing open mic
Yeah.
music nights where he's the only guy doing jokes.
Ooh.
You know, just like people are like, what the
That's
hell's
hard.
this? Yeah. Someone just played
So
Pete
people
Murray. The
get
next guy's
out
playing
singing
Jack Johnson.
songs.
Yeah, yeah. But so he was very encouraging to me. He's like, write something.
Wait, because you couldn't find the open mic comedy, or he was just desperate to do it?
He's just doing it whatever he can. And when you're starting out, you can't
You
get
don't
on a lot
know.
of rooms
Yeah.
as well.
Even
Yeah.
at 10:30 at night, Rowan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even
You
then,
You had a pretty
the
soft
lucrative.
entry, comparatively.
Yeah, I
That's
could have
right.
Yeah.
between Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
and-
Alan crawled so you could walk.
exactly.
But over time, I wrote out a set, I think, and I think it was like 3 years later I finally did it. In between, Andy Matthews did his first spot
Yeah.
at the Exford, and I went along and watched, and I'm like, oh, well, I can't do that because he was so brilliant,
Yeah.
like instantly.
Oh, he's great.
So I was sort of thinking, I'll be the next one.
Yeah.
And I saw him like, oh no, actually, there's no way. Like a kid at the top of the water slide, like
You just
actually
went along.
backing
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But yeah, then I saw another guy a while later, and I'm like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah. Maybe don't mention his name.
No, I can't remember who it was, but it was just, that's
He's not doing comedy
No.
anymore.
I don't think he is. No.
He's selling air conditioning.
Yeah.
No,
Nothing
being
else.
mean,
There's
just
anything
like
wrong
circle.
with it.
No.
it's just like, oh,
I mean,
there's a wide range
Of people.
and he could have
Yeah.
been doing brand
Yeah.
new material that night, that he hadn't figured out.
Yeah.
You can see someone on
No, you
two
need to
different
see those
occasions
people.
before
Exactly.
making any
Right.
judgment on their
right.
skills.
Definitely.
Not that you need to make any judgments on their skills. It's a weird.
Quit judging
all
so
we
much.
do.
There is I mean, you might have to
Yeah.
because you're booking a room, but
Yeah.
it is funny. There are certain people who are very gatekeepery and stuff. Like you were even nervous
Gatekeepery.
about it before. You were like, you said the first time I was a comedian or a person doing comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh,
you were
yeah.
thinking about people who
How
said to you,
people
you
judge.
can't call yourself a comedian.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I remember even like making a Facebook page and stuff to like, oh god,
Oh, yeah,
so
people-
much,
Right.
You're
Like,
so aware
so
of
much
people
like
rolling their eyes from
anxiety and oh my god, and that but
To
some people,
legitimately just call yourself a comedian.
Yeah.
Well, I still don't.
yeah,
Do you think that's a really Australian thing? Is that just an Australian cynicism?
Yeah, I imagine
or that,
it's not
like
an
a bit
LA
of
thing.
tall poppy thing.
Yeah.
That's right. Like everyone's calling themselves
Yeah,
a comedian
yeah.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they got
Yeah.
a Facebook page before they've even done
Exactly.
a 10:30 bit.
exactly, yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or people now, yeah. I mean, I guess it's like, it's good to have that confidence, but I think like I've seen some people kind of shoot themselves in the foot as well of like, they're like too confident and they'll film their first, in their first 50 gigs of stand up and like, it's not good, but like they're posting it on social media
You, like,
and
can't
it's
be
like
good all
ugh.
the time anyway, right? And isn't this part of just this creative like
Well, maybe you
challenges?
can't.
Like we all but it's like we're not. Like
No.
I know I can't even I don't even watch a lot of the stuff that I make. Like I haven't seen
Yeah.
the shows that I've done because I know that I'll watch it through my own critical lens and like not like it. And so
But
I
also-
guess my point is like
Yeah.
we all have to make mistakes when you're putting yourself out there with
Oh,
these
yeah.
creative.
But it's, I think, part of comedy is you have to be so critical, kind of your own jokes. Like you have to, or you not
Right.
don't have to, but you're supposed to listen to, like you record every set. You're supposed to listen to it so that like you can criticize yourself, I guess, of like knowing like what you did right. And so that you can learn from it, and like as opposed to what you
Wow.
do wrong.
I would just be in a fetal
So you're
position on the
supposed
floor
to-
if
well,
I did
yeah.
that. Like,
Such a
It's
hard-
pretty
really
brutal. It's a
yeah.
really hard thing.
Get into the rhythm
to
of
just
it, and
be
it's all right. But
constantly-
Yeah.
like going
The
back to it,
first few
it's like
times.
the tension.
Oh my
It must
gosh.
for
It's
you
awful.
watching yourself as well because you've done multiple takes. It's out of your hands, and you're like, they chose
Yes.
that one. Is it?
Yeah.
Do you have
Yeah,
those
that's
sort of feelings
true.
as well?
Yes, a lot of those feelings. Like it doesn't come across the way you really wanted it to.
Yeah.
It can be quite disappointing.
You're like, oh, why didn't you tell me that was?
Not working.
Yeah,
I
could have
oh,
done it
wait a
different.
minute. They did. And I did leave them.
Yeah.
No. No, but I think that is true often. But also, actually Australian TV is often shot so fast that you might only get one take. So sometimes I do watch stuff, the scenes that I have seen, and I'm like, I only got one shot and it's actually okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sort of like pleasantly surprised sometimes because often we just run out of time.
Yeah.
Like time is money, and you just at the end of the day, it's about to rain. Everyone's ready to clock off. You got to do the
Yeah.
most emotional
You just
scene,
gotta
and
do
you're
it.
like, you know, this is like someone's pretending to be dead in front of you, and you've got to
And go.
do this like confrontation, like with their dead body, and it's like, yes, one take.
Yeah.
And good to know that going in, I guess.
Yeah.
I
Rather than doing the take and then
And
they're
they
like,
go,
that's
"That's
all.
it." Yes.
And that's it. And that was Adrian's one shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when I had this tiny scene on Ronnie Cheng's show 5 years back or whenever it was.
Oh, like the kids show.
Oh, no, it was like, the uni.
You know, the uni.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did that too, Matt.
Oh, cool.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I had just one.
Yeah.
I just had one scene. He passed me in the hall or whatever,
Yeah.
and it was just, I'm like, all right, I got the lines out. Now I'll do. And they're like, got
And you
it.
fell over.
Move on. I'm like, I'd waited for one day. It was only because it was only one quick scene. I waited a day, got bumped the scene to the next day. So
Yeah.
I was there for a day and a half.
Got paid
Oh my
twice.
God.
Got paid twice, yeah.
Wow.
And then it was like, done. That's it.
And
Goodbye.
that's it. Thank
Like,
you, that's
oh,
Yeah.
oh no, I really would love
Now
to
you're an
have that.
actor.
Just one more go. I know
Yes.
you can't really ask for another go in those
No,
circumstances.
yeah, sure.
No.
Yeah, especially it's like such an unimportant thing. You're like, I actually think
That'd be so
my
funny.
unnamed character.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're often the hardest bits are those like little one line things. I don't know. Actors always talk about these. If you have a big
Yeah.
scene, say with like 4 or 5 different characters in a scene, and then you just say like one line in there, like if you're a character who only says one thing or
Yeah.
something, there's so much pressure, and so you're
Yeah.
like listening and you're cutting the bread and you're doing all this stuff, and then you have one line, and like that'll be the
Yeah.
one that gets messed up every
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of pressure on that
Yeah.
one because you're like trying to put everything into
Yeah.
it, and then
And
you
the-
fall over or something
Yeah.
while you're doing it. You know, like
Wow.
don't we all want that though?
Yeah, this is where you wish you were there right now, right? That's
I'm
where-
itching
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah,
I'm itching
yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
I want the pressure.
Yeah, get back
Put me
into
in.
it.
You know, like a little bit of pressure is kind of
It's
good. I
good.
think like
Yeah.
I do feed off it. I do feel like I get a bit of buzz.
Yeah.
I do get a lot of satisfaction
Yeah.
from the challenge of
Yeah.
that actually.
Well, it must be like quite adrenaline chasing almost, because if you're just living for that little, for like those scenes,
Yeah.
I guess they might be like quite long scenes, but you know, like for that
Yeah.
time, like you're just waiting and then your adrenaline kicks in. You're like, oh, like the come down though must be pretty intense.
Yes, and I guess it depends. Sometimes, yeah, I guess it depends on the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, scene, like if you're playing a really big character or something.
Yeah.
But I think more. I don't know. The adrenaline is different. Like I can play. I feel like I'm quite introverted in my own life. You know, fairly sort of.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think a lot of comedians are as well.
Yeah.
We're like pretty introvert.
Yeah, I, think
I mean,
so.
I don't want to talk to
Put words in your
yeah, put words in your overly enthusiastic salesman mouth. I feel like you might be introverted.
Yeah, I think I actually have no idea, but yeah.
I don't.
think the
I
most
actually
of the time.
maybe not. I think you can be both now.
Yeah.
do
An
you feel
extroverted
like-
introvert.
Do you
I
feel
think
like
that
there's
exists.
do you feel like there's a bit of a cost for that personally? Like, because is it hard to be introverted and to be a comedian where you have to, you know, you seem like your comedy or like comedy persona or is very similar to your own persona. I don't know if I'm
I think
getting
so,
that right,
yeah.
but so
Do you see
guess,
it as
like-
like a different?
yeah, can you
Character?
like do you need to switch off afterwards or like
No, I don't
know
think
what I
so.
mean? Like-
I
Yeah.
think it's not a yeah. I'm sure it's different. Like it'd be slightly heightened or something. Like I'm not.
you'd hope
I'm
so.
yeah. I'm really just
Just kidding.
being the only one talking in a room. You know, everyone listen to me.
Yeah.
Which
But
is
for
it
your
feels
stand
strange.
up, you are.
But you have
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone wasn't
Yeah,
listening,
yeah.
it'd be
But
quite rude.
I said to someone.
Oh yeah, Adrian, people don't listen all the time.
all the time.
It will
drinking.
break your heart to know, but at
Yeah.
10:30 at night,
Yeah.
sometimes people do not listen.
Yeah, they're chatting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think someone said to me, Well, I was saying something about like not being feeling a bit bad. Like I'm not really confident in a festival show that I was about to do or something. And they're like, "What do you mean?" They were a comedian as well, but more of a sketch sort of comedian, slightly different.
Yeah.
And they're like, that doesn't. They're like, you can be honest here. You're not doing it if you don't fully believe in yourself. I'm like, oh, that's not at all my experience at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that like they like how would you even do it if you don't
Believe
if
in
you
yourself.
aren't really confident? I'm like, I don't know, I'm not,
Do it all the time.
but I do it all the time. I don't know.
So you're just very comfortable
Yeah.
with your own vulnerability, which is quite a rare thing, eh?
I don't know.
It's best not to think about it.
That thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I
Yeah.
analyze myself very much in those sort of ways.
No.
So it just comes very naturally then to you. You just sort of like one thing after another. Maybe.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know. I don't
something
know.
just like
Well, it
yeah.
seems to be working.
I reckon
Right.
there's heaps of times that you're like like you're waiting for your name, like you know your name's going to be called and you're like, oh my god, like I just have to do this, but like I think this is going to go awfully, like they're
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
like me, like you're absolutely not feeling confident at the
No, I know,
moment.
I'm
That's
like,
so funny
that's
of
such a
someone to
funny-
be like, yeah,
But
like,
they're from
like
a slightly
sometimes
different
you
world,
just,
I think.
yeah,
The
you just
sketch world is a bit
push
different.
yourself and you're like, well, I have to, like I actually can't pull out now because they're on stage and they're
Yes.
about to say my name, so I have to do this.
That's a big part of it.
I like
I'm on the
cannot-
poster. I've got to
Exactly,
go.
Yeah.
exactly. You're like, what
Show was
alternative?
cancelled. Oh,
Exactly.
No. Really?
No
Ah.
That's any plans at all, though.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. I'll not get up off the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put my jammies back on.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you're taking it out of my hands,
Yeah,
pretty happy with
it's
that.
pretty good.
Oh, I didn't decide to bail?
No.
Fantastic.
But this has worked out very well
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the thing that I'm supposed to love doing. I
Which
don't get to
I
do.
do love doing, and I love every time I do it.
But boy, it's good to sometimes just
There's a
not
bit
have
of pressure.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. I'll often feel worse before going up when it's unknown
Yeah.
how it's going to go
Yeah.
than how I come off after an average or bad set. I'd be like, I've learned a bit there. Or when I'm
Yeah.
on stage, I'm in control of
to.
it.
Yeah.
You can, I don't know why, but beforehand, that's where the anxiety really spikes.
Yeah.
And the self-doubt about, like, all day going,
Yeah.
I think this is a really fun new idea.
Yeah.
And then on the way to the gig, actually, and then
yeah.
you're sitting on, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
This is rubbish.
Oh, man. Yeah.
This is not, there's no
punchline.
we've
these
all-
people
What have I
don't need
done?
to hear this. They've come out for a night out for fun.
Oh.
I'm going to do this to them.
Oh yeah. I do the exact same thing. Yeah. That's
So do you take
It's
a
pretty
punt
fun.
and you just do it?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you
And
have
then
to.
it just...
yeah. Yeah.
Or you
I'm
you
here
cow it
now.
out and do an old bit
Yeah.
that you know works, but that
But you can't keep
you'll feel
doing
bad
that
about
forever.
that.
Yeah.
Well, and also there's no longevity in that.
No.
You can't keep doing it forever. And so then no
Like, you
career.
have to write new
no,
stuff.
You have,
And
you
there's-
have to
I guess.
keep going forward.
Yeah.
The
like-
best buzz is when a new bit works.
Oh, it's so
That's
good.
the best.
Is it?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
does that feel like?
Oh, it's a drug.
Yeah.
You would know as a methadone.
In recovery. Yeah.
Wow. Just to be clear.
But you're at full method.
Yeah.
You're methadone.
Methadone. I only go method.
Yeah.
For my methadone. Yeah.
Yeah.
no, it is.
But
yeah.
I think because it's so affirming, I think maybe that's what's so good about it. Like when a new bit works, because it's like, well, I just thought of that. Like no one else helped me. I thought it was funny, and I wrote it out, and then it worked. So, this is great. Maybe I'll ride this for the next
Yeah, maybe
10 minutes.
maybe I do belong
Yeah,
here.
maybe I belong, and this will be great. And then inevitably, the second time you do it, it
there's a
does
dip.
not go well.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, yeah,
Wait, what
I
was
do
the
need to work
thing?
on it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And you're nervous about it too. Sometimes when you're just doing old, I mean, yeah, you're not as nervous about it. So it doesn't feel as much of a win when it's like, it feels good when it's going well, obviously. But yeah, doing a new bit that works is the best feeling.
you talk about like the people you've collaborated with at Old Stupid Studios and people you've worked with for
Stupid
sorry,
old.
Stupid Old.
Hey, I like this. Fresh take.
Fresh take on an old thing.
I think we've got it.
Yeah,
Let's
we
go
got
for
it
one
fresh
more.
Stupid Old Studios. So your collaborators, Matt, you've been working with for like 10 or so years or longer.
Yeah.
Are they like your buddies? Like what I mean is, I guess like a lot of people struggle for work-life balance, and does it exist for creative people, or do you just like kind of hang out with the same people that you work with and you work on your bits with them, and you know what I mean?
think
Like,
it's a bit-
is
it
it all
does
just
bleed.
a big mush
it
of
definitely
stuff?
does a bit. There, you're always having conversations where you're like talking about. Ideally, you're not thinking about comedy work, but you'd be like, "Hang on, is that something?"
Yeah.
Let me just
Sorry,
write
Ray,
this
is
down.
that?
Let me
do you
just
think that
write
could
this.
work?
Are you going to use that? Because
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
not going to use it,
If you're if you're in a combo, can I have that?
Yeah.
Can I have that anecdote that we just?
it would be hard not to always steal those ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they come from, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's often where the best ones come from. Not, rarely for me. It's sitting down, going,
Sitting
all
down
right, I'm going to
writing,
write
yeah.
a joke about it.
Yeah.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Treading on
Hey,
Ray when
do
says
not
that.
steal my.
But it does. It definitely bleeds over. But I still catch up with old mates from school and stuff. And yeah, and we don't talk about it too much. They'll ask a few questions. They'll occasionally say you can have that about something that is not at all usable for comedy in any way. I bet you'll probably
You can
talk
have
about that
that.
on stage.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how
That
you
was
think that could
very
possibly
specific.
Get
be.
into
Your
my
life.
Very,
stand up.
How much background will I have to set up for your quip there to make any sense at all? I'd have to do an hour. Okay, so this guy, what you need to know about this guy is
He's got brown hair.
He's got brown hair.
It's slowly falling out.
and his dad worked for a greengrocer's.
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem important now, but that will become important.
Let me just,
Yes, but the people always talk about it. Like the funniest
Yeah.
people I know are amongst those guys, but they, it's just a different kind of funny.
Yeah.
Which is what I always thought when Alistair. He really, if it wasn't for him, I never would have done it. I just didn't have the guts.
Yeah.
Was too scared, really, and just didn't believe that I had any right to do it. Really, like honestly, I'm like, because he'd be like, he's like, you're really funny. I'm like, different kind of funny.
Yeah.
And if I'm accepting that I am funny, which
totally.
I'm not necessarily, it's not the same
Yeah.
thing as being on stage by yourself doing material. It's a different thing, and it is a
Exactly.
different thing. But yeah, I guess you can work on it
bleed
though,
into
and you
it.
can.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's like a skill you can work on it.
Yeah.
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 And do you feel okay about it evolving over time? Because I guess it has to, right? Your comedy has to evolve. And like, I know that my roles will change. Like, I'm not going to be playing the 28-year-old forever. Like, you know what I mean?
You're gonna bump up to 32.
Yeah, I've really noticed bump it up to 32. I was going to say, like, how I'm in the realm of playing, like, mums now. And so, like, pretty much I only play mums or, like...
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is
it's
not
kids
bad.
anymore. You've evolved.
I've evolved from kids. But so, like, no more love interest for the time being. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
and does it come back around? What's the?
I don't know. It's
trajectory?
hard. This is what's hard. I think on TV it just like jumps a generation. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm in my 40s now. Early 40s, still 40s. And what I think happens is, like, even if the character's in their 40s, they'll often just cast someone who's 30 because that's what people on TV like to watch.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like
That's so funny.
people
Yeah.
talk about this female
Like aging out or
invisibility
whatever, yeah.
thing. And I think it's starting now.
Yeah.
Just because of that sort of like,
Yeah.
I don't think it happens for dudes in the same way. Like, I think they still get cast, but it's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that means
I can't play anyone. I can only play like a mum.
Mums.
They're trying. Are they
Yeah.
trying to fix that, or are they lip service at least? 'Cause
They
they
trying
being
to
the
fix it,
business.
like the
Yeah.
biz.
Because I mean, they've been shamed into doing something about it. Because like that's a long
little
term
bit.
thing where the leading man ages, but the leading lady doesn't.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you know, and much like real life Leonardo DiCaprio has aged, but his partners on and off screen
Yeah.
haven't.
Yeah.
It's like, but
Yeah.
I think enough people
I
are
think
going,
they're
that's,
aware of
that's
it.
a bit weird. And
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Yeah, there are
There's
certainly
more-
like way more shows that have a
coming out.
protagonist who is female and who is in her 40s. But I just but overall,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a black hole, I think. Not to be too depressed.
I think
about
it's not quite the same, but me and friends in comedy who spend a little bit of time going for ads just for extra cash.
Yeah.
We'll get roles that say something like unique looking person or not
Yeah.
traditionally attractive or those sort of things.
May have
Yeah.
massive beard.
Yeah, like just basically
Yeah.
skirting around the fishes, like
Yeah.
slightly ugly,
Unwashed.
yeah.
Unclean looking.
Yeah.
And you go for those roles, and nearly always it ends up being a model with a beard. You know,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. That's
It's
yeah.
casting.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like don't waste my time if you're
Yeah.
if you're gonna end
Yeah.
up getting a model
You don't
anyway.
have to be mean about it.
How did that guy stumble upon this process?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon they had him in mind all along
Yeah.
somehow. But
Yeah, that's right.
I just vaguely related to what you're saying, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
But it is funny. We find it funny because we get no money for that process, but we
No.
do get a big hit to the ego.
Yeah.
And I don't
It
need
takes
that.
you down.
I don't. Mine's not huge.
You don't need a massive ego. You're quite all right.
But yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is that must be. So, are you feeling any stress about that now? Because you're in a break between
I
jobs,
just
and
feel
you're
like
also
I'm
thinking
sort of
about
in the no man's land, no woman's land with it. Yeah, I just don't know how it's going to go. And I think no one ever does. So, I just read my IMDb database again
Yeah.
and remind myself of the 20 years of work that's come before
Exactly.
me. But I also just really, I just want to play interesting roles too. Like, I feel frustrated by a lot of the TV that's out there and a lot of just making women palatable.
Oh
And
yeah.
I've just had a gut full of it because I just don't think women need to be palatable all the time. Like, nobody always just needs to be palatable. And
This feels like a hit show ready to go.
yeah,
Unpalatable.
unpalatable,
woman.
unpalatable me.
Yeah.
Unpalatable.
It's just
HBO.
you.
I just
Have you
feel
ever
like I'm not
tried-
the only one.
Have you ever tried pitching your own?
I've not pitched. I've tried writing, and I'm writing something now. I try to do it, but I really struggle. I struggle with that thing of you were talking about before when you look at the stuff and you're like, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I thought this was good.
Yeah.
What? What am I thinking about?
Women should be palatable.
Of course they should be palatable.
Who's gonna watch this? Not even I want to watch this. You know what I mean? This is so unpalatable. I'm gonna go wash my mouth out. It's disgusting. But yeah, I struggle with breaking through the hard bit. But my friends of mine who are writers, that is what writing is. And you guys do a lot of writing. It takes a lot of
to get
time
through
to
it.
come up with those succinct 2 minutes and a lot of trials and
Well, yeah,
failures
that's
and
what I know.
it's hard,
It's
and
so
I don't have
hard.
the discipline for
Well,
it.
we were
because I've
talking about
not had success in it yet.
Yeah.
I think if I had written something and I'd had some success, it might boost me forward like you have.
Oh yeah.
Because I've not delved into it. I'm just sort of in the shadows feeling like it's not something I do. I'm just an actor.
You haven't even had a
You know what I
you haven't
mean?
given it a chance
Let's
to
take-
I haven't
be
given it a
validated.
chance. Yeah.
But I was every step of the way feels like that to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt it. I was lucky. I early on I did the Raw comedy
Yeah.
competition, and I got all the way through that. Just getting through the heat, I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
That
okay.
would've been,
I'm
yeah,
like,
a good validation.
If I
Yeah.
bombed out of that and had a bad set,
Yeah.
I might have only tried a few. I don't
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there would have been a deep down drive that would have kicked in, but I don't think so.
They're important.
And
aren't
they like it.
Yeah.
Going through the whole process, I'm like, well, that's kept me going for
Yeah.
a few years, and there's been dips and troughs.
I mean, people
but-
still bring it up. your raw
yeah,
raw
which
comedy
is
winner.
10 years ago this
Yeah,
year.
still laughing. Still laughing.
Still
Yeah,
laughing,
yeah.
You said before that it's a mistake people make to put up a gig in their first, film a gig in their first 50.
Oh, that's
Mine
so
was on
true.
national TV.
Yeah. That was your what was it? Your 10th?
I think it was my 10th
Yeah.
or 12th, yeah.
Wow.
Still
Yeah.
maybe the
Still a
biggest
good
crowd I've
bit.
ever,
A
it was
good
like
bit.
1,400 people or something.
Wow.
Crazy.
Were you
But
so nervous?
I
like,
was
did you have
so
a dry
nervous.
mouth? Do you get those
I
nerves? Do
honestly,
you get,
my body
all that?
reacted. I won't go into it
Oh.
necessarily, but my
Makes you
body
feel
reacted in
sick
ways
just
that,
thinking about it.
yeah, I was like pale
Yeah,
more
wow.
than normal, and yeah,
Wow.
just
do you think you'd be better now dealing with it, or that's still just
Yeah, I
so
think
much
so.
pressure?
I
that
think-
it's
well, I
like,
now
that's
know-
terrifying.
I would still feel a lot of pressure
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
a gig, like if it was a gala or something,
Yeah.
or any sort of televised big show. I'd still be very nervous, but I've never been that nervous
Yeah.
in any other time of my life.
But you did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Like, this is what I talk about with
Yeah.
my kids when they're scared of things. But it's like, it's to do something, no matter what the thing is, that you're so afraid of, but you know it's the right thing to do, so you do it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? Like,
Yes, and I never regret going through those things. If I ever, maybe
Yeah.
a couple of times, when I have been a coward in the past from something like that I like
Strong
you should
word.
do, but I'm not.
it's a bit scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel awful afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think it's normally worth pushing through if it's
Yeah.
just a fear thing,
Yeah.
not a like a danger thing.
Yeah. Not like a physical danger.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I'm not
like
teaching
with
my
a shark.
girls to like
Yeah.
yeah. Just wade out into the waters no matter what the conditions.
Yeah.
No.
What-
No.
You know I was just thinking about your career path. Have you heard this line from what's that guy? Who was the star of the Police Academy movies? Have you heard that line he has? What's his name?
yeah, what's his name?
Nuremberg, something Berg, Gutenberg, Steve Gutenberg.
Steve Gutenberg, yeah.
Apparently I saw him say this on a podcast recently. He goes, I think it's the 4 stages of being an actor.
Oh my God.
Who's Steve Gutenberg? Get me Steve Gutenberg. I need a Steve Gutenberg type. And who's Steve Gutenberg?
You go full circle.
That's the full circle.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you feel
I
like...
don't know what stage I'm in. Was there ever a Get Me Adrian
Steve.
Pickering
I think-
stage?
I just feel- I mean-
I don't know.
have
Haven't
you-
gone past it.
Have you
So
won
have I-
many jobs through just like they're like, will you take...
I've had a couple,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, that's
Yeah.
That's a win.
get me an Adrian Pickering.
So
stage.
now I'm
yeah.
on the downward
Well,
cycle.
I don't know.
Maybe
but
I'm
he's like,
past the, like
he saw it like as a real Zen thing. He's like, it happens to everyone.
It does.
It's
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of funny
Yeah,
to sit
I
back
guess
and
that's
look at it.
embracing the
That's a good way to think about it. It happens to everyone.
But also,
be
yeah,
fine.
at the brutal time of like,
Yeah.
get me a type where you're like, but I'm
Get
still
me
here.
a
Yeah.
Steve
Get me
Gutenberg
to
type.
do it.
And they're like, Steve's available.
yeah.
Yeah, who else you got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve's expensive. We want a type, but maybe a third of the
Yeah.
cost.
And maybe slightly more attractive.
Yeah, he's a little goofy.
Yeah.
Steve Gutenberg with a mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask Matt, do you have any advice that you would give for little Matt, like when you were just
yeah.
like on the precipice, or
I mean, would it be coming from me now? Would I be a time traveler? Because if that's the case, I'd be
never
like,
thought about it like that. But
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
want, take
Then
this wherever you want it to go.
I feel like then I could be like, just enjoy it as much as you can. Try and believe in yourself a
Yeah.
little bit. Because I really
But not
made
too much because you're not that great.
yeah. I had so many horrible times, like
Yeah.
the day I felt sick leading up to gigs for days.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the early ones for a week
Like
or whatever.
self-inflicted
Yeah,
anxiety
yeah.
over.
I remember driving
Wow.
around to sell air conditioning and just feeling my guts
yeah.
churning, thinking about next Tuesday I'm doing my
Wow.
second gig.
And
Yeah.
you did it though. But you did those gigs.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Some of them. Some of them.
No, I think
did
I
it.
did. I don't remember any specific ones that I bailed from cowardice.
I was
but-
too scared to bail
Yeah,
as
that was
well
the other
because that has its own like thing of you're like, well, I
Repercussions.
can't.
But-
you can't bail again.
But
and
you
won't
so
get the
desperately
opportunity.
like you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna be like running to the bathroom and have like nervousness like
I'm also
for
just
5 minutes.
I'm
but
so
you cannot,
afraid.
Guys,
Yeah,
it's
you cannot
so
like let
stressful.
someone down.
But also afraid
God.
of setting that precedent
Yeah.
for myself. I'm like, if I do it once,
That's
Yeah.
very
I'll do
true.
it again. So
You-
I've been
can't
aware
do
of
it.
that
It's
the
a
whole
real
time.
slippery slope.
That's
Just
true.
you do
you
it
can't
and you
allow yourself like that little like,
some sort of stoicism thing, I guess.
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's advice. I don't know. Yeah, I'd say just try and it all is all right.
Yeah.
Like me 10 years ago to know what I've done in the last 10 years, I'd be like, no way.
Yeah.
I'd be so stoked.
Yeah.
Which really is probably advice I should be
Yeah.
giving myself now.
Like 10 years.
Like we're talking about
Future 10 years.
like
Yes.
your career as well.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And it's it's really interesting to hear that you're like even people who are like you know, kings of the
Kings of
industry.
success.
You'd be like in the top 20 actors in Australia and you're going, I've got doubt.
Yeah.
Which is wild. It's you
Yeah.
and Brian Brown.
It's just me and Brian up there. That's right.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
It's tough.
Do you
It's
think
interesting.
yeah, I was just thinking as you're talking because like you actually have so many different creative like things because you don't just do stand up. You
Yes.
like you do podcasting as well as like I guess it's just a lot of different do you think it's important to have a balance?
Many strings to the bow.
Yeah.
People talk
or
about that
like
in
a balance
Australian
of like
entertainment that you kind of have to have
Yeah.
a few things
Right,
going on.
because the industry's so small,
Yeah.
you mean? So
You
you
need
can't
to-
really earn a living just doing one.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're taking a bit of insurance out.
Yeah.
Can't put all the
Yeah.
eggs in
to
one
do a
basket.
few- yeah.
People have always said that, but I sort of see them as all working together. Like your writing is a separate thing, but if you get a thing pitched
Still
and
unpublished.
one, you're
Still unpitched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, you've got a role in that. I
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, well, that's the idea,
Yeah.
right?
Like yeah.
Yeah.
And then they'll
You
say,
know what I
like,
mean? So it all works
They
together.
write
we
you
love
out.
this. We're
Yeah.
thinking someone like Adrian Pickett.
Yeah.
Yeah, 28-year-old maybe this is what Ray will make.
Yeah, this is my role.
A cheaper Adrian Pickering.
A farm-based Adrian
Yeah.
Pickering.
Yeah. Found her on Temu.
That's like I'm doing stand-up shows in the UK next month, or this in 2024. I don't know when this is coming out, but that's only happening because of the podcasting. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, so in
wouldn't have
terms of
that
really
audience.
feeding into
Yeah.
each other, you found a way.
yeah, the
like-
podcasting goes out there and it's spreading the word of what you're up to while you're asleep or whatever. Like in places that you just can't
Yeah.
be. I can't be going around doing open mics in London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sending your raw clip to
Yeah, yeah. Like, oh, this is pretty
Strangers.
grainy
Yeah.
footage.
$20 a ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the studio is like this is a comedy. Not that I draw an income from this place, but it's I'm so lucky to be involved with it with the great people here, and I filmed my first hour of comedy at the studio. And I'm
Yeah.
going to film my second one here later in the year, and just being around
so
the
it all
community
works
in here.
together. Yeah, exactly.
So they're my main three things, and
Yeah.
they're all in under the comedy umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do anything outside of like what are your like I don't know,
my
do you have
God.
hobbies outside of comedy? I've just like as myself, like
do like
I
the-
really like obviously I like farming.
Yeah.
I like working with animals or like doing something with my hand. Like you're very like
Always
like
making
practical
stuff.
as well.
Yeah.
Like you're
I'm just
you,
like
you
knitting
knit
obsessed
and like,
knitting
garden.
and
That's
sewing
awesome.
and gardening.
Yeah.
If I could spend my whole day, I would knit.
yeah.
Probably.
Did you make that?
Yeah, I made this.
That's a
Yeah.
great knit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just knit this
Good knit.
beautiful cardigan from the alpaca from one
From
of
the
Raven's alpacas
yeah.
at her farm. It's
I
amazing.
gave the wool to Ada and
How
she
good's
knitted
that?
it. Yeah.
So it's like come full circle, and now I've just knitted this amazing, like
Yeah.
beautiful cardigan. It's so soft, and I feel like I'm wrapped in like pinto.
yeah.
And I was like picking out straw from it, and just thinking
I was
like,
like, I
this
put
is
that
a bit
there.
of like farm right here. So I'm knitting.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
I
isn't
left
it?
all that crap in just for you.
Rustic. That makes it a one of a kind.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
It does. But we often talk about how like important those other things
Yeah,
are. to
because I think it
bring-
helps like your
It's like
I mean
some
not to
sort
talk
of, like,
about like your
grounding
mental
or, like-
health or like but to have I think if I didn't have that you'd be focusing so much on like
Yeah.
what am I not doing or like what am I not getting or
Well,
like how do
especially
I get
for
those
me,
things
the
So it's,
powerlessness of everything. Of
yeah,
like, why
it's
didn't
just
they pick
really
me? Or
hard.
like,
You'd like to be
why,
stuck in a loop. It just
Yeah.
I don't know. I like for myself. I think I'd struggle to do it like full time with where I am at in my career now. If I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting like way more like
Yes.
better gigs, I guess.
But it's not just
Then you're
that.
like, okay.
It's also your personality, I think.
Yeah.
Like, what could be more grounding?
Yeah. And it's also
shoveling
where
sheep
it's
shit.
shoveling. Yeah. Yeah, it's very great.
By day and by night.
Yeah.
By night on the stage.
Okay, the
and,
torch.
by day.
Yeah.
No.
Do not get them confused.
Performance really good. No, but like, do you have
but it's
anything
also
like,
where like a lot of like my like material comes from. I think maybe it's good to live those things so that you can actually
it's your
like talk
your
about
greatest inspiration?
Yeah.
There's a bit of a bigger, big American comedians and stuff. You see them have a trajectory with their specials where like it starts out where they're talking about stuff that we all understand, and then they'll get big and it'll evolve into like the later career ones.
Yeah.
So I was hanging out at Michael Scorsese's house.
Yeah.
That is name, Martin Scorsese's house. Or something you're like, what?
Yeah.
And it'll just be like 20-minute tale with so many Hollywood
Like
names
models
in it.
and stuff. You're like,
Yeah,
okay.
cool. That's pretty fun, interesting. And Marty said to me, "You can use that." So I am.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm like, oh shit!
No
You just gave
hobbies?
me a slight crisis.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
I'm
Maybe
like,
you just like eat and breathe comedy.
I'm like a
Sleep, eat, breathe.
passionate Saints supporter in the AFL,
Ah.
and so there'll be group chats going on
Takes
about
up
that
a lot
through
of
the
time.
day. Yeah, and then I've started getting into
I mean, I
NFL
think
in the
that's
off
still
season.
good. I think that's still good to have, like, at least you've got some other outside interests.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of are like, I like go back. You're very passionate about
That's right.
like all their stats and
Beer?
players and like
Does that count?
Beer.
I
Yeah.
guess so. Yeah.
That led to a one of my more fun jobs as well, just being into beer.
Yeah.
And I ended up hosting this travel show about beer for a
There you
couple of
go.
seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that really just brings it back into work, which is what you do with farming, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you're talking about it on
It's right
stage,
back in. Yeah.
I like doing the puzzles in the morning, cup of tea and the
Do you?
yeah the
Super-
crosswords
Oh, wow.
and the Wordle and
Well, it's good for your brain.
Is it?
yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. Well.
that's a bonus.
Oh, yeah.
So I just
Explains a few things.
planted some veggies this spring for the first time.
Whoa. You got 'em there.
Got
I should have given you some seedlings.
corn.
Didn't know you. Whoa! Look at you, corn.
Corn, strawberries.
Pumpkin?
No pumpkin. I don't have a yard really, so it's just in pots.
Well, where is the corn? Oh, okay.
It's like a big pot.
Okay.
Everything in one
Couple
pot.
of
Yeah, you
tomatoes.
just
Yeah.
scattered
It's not
seeds
going well.
in the concrete.
It's all dead. Long dead.
But you planted them.
I planted
Yeah,
them.
That's
yeah.
the
That was
important
it was something really satisfying about that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm moving into a green thumb phase. I think.
Yeah.
It's a real middle aged
That's
sort of
great.
era.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm really gonna have to get a hobby.
Yeah. Well, we look
You
forward to
probably
hearing
don't have
about
enough
it.
time. Yeah.
No, I think I'm on the
All this comedy and all this other stuff takes a lot of time.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you meant in my life. Not enough time.
You're running out of
I
time.
thought you were saying you are
You're on that.
pretty old.
You're on that.
You're past the youth
It's
stage
bad.
now. Like
You
you're
can't
getting
pick
to
up
the
hobbies
end.
at
You got 12.
downhill.
You got 12 months, Matt. You
Yeah.
got 12 months.
You can roll down the hill. That could be a hobby.
Yeah. You just enjoy every little moment you have.
So good.
Would you recommend this as a job? This?
Yes.
I guess.
Your job.
I might. Yeah,
Your
I
job,
would
would you
definitely. I
recommend
genuinely feel lucky. I
Yeah.
wake up, and if I have the presence of mind, and I'm not caught up with some stress that's coming up, I feel super lucky to be
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
To
we
be
are all very,
alive at
exactly.
this period of time.
That you
Everything
can
about
do
I'm
it.
like real lotto
the
stuff.
jackpot.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it is incredibly lucky. Like, even us complaining about it, we're still
I
like,
know.
oh, well, it's like, there's so many worse things you could complain about.
Yeah, we
Sort of
feel-
us, like, we're like a very privileged
know.
position that we can choose
So
to
privileged.
have this as a, I was still going to call it a hobby, but I guess it's a job.
Yeah. Even
Is
compared
this
to
a
my
job?
last real job, the air conditioning
Yeah.
sales, that was pretty stressful, making commissions
Yeah.
and a certain amount of sales every month.
Totally.
Or when I genuinely was like office managing Stupid Old Studios, that I did not enjoy life much of that.
Like
Yeah.
full-time sort of manager.
Yeah, it was not. That was
No.
not my kind of thing.
Yeah.
No.
So lucky to have people here now who are. It's actually in their
good at
skill
that.
set.
Yeah.
I just happen to as like.
Bumbled into it.
Yeah, really bumbled into it. So much better situation now.
That's awesome. It's
Wow.
good to be proud about
Yeah.
what we do.
Let's be proud.
Let's be proud.
I won't be going that far, but
I feel good about it.
yeah, feel lucky. For
Feel
sure.
lucky.
I do not feel proud.
No.
I do not feel like I've earned anything.
Yeah.
Just feel like I've luckily stumbled upon. Really lucky I made that phone call to
Yeah.
Sin
Yeah.
when I was 20. about
That
10,
you
25.
weren't cut off by
My
age.
whole life, I
yeah.
have no idea what I imagine I'd potentially even still be selling air
Yeah.
conditioning. I'd be
I mean,
living in
you-
Moorabbin.
yeah.
Actually,
I
I
couldn't
couldn't
actually.
afford to live in Moorabbin anymore. The prices, you know.
Yeah.
I'd be living, out.
Yeah.
out
You'd have a real garden probably.
Yeah, I'd be living on an acre.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. Thanks, Matt.
Well, thanks for having us in your studio.
Thanks for this.
Hey, thanks so much for
this is
putting
a
this
pleasure.
together.
Thanks for-
I think it's a really fun idea for a show. I certainly won't listen to this episode, but I will.
It'll never be published.
I couldn't if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to listening to future episodes for sure.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you for listening. If you liked us, please tell a friend or two. Apparently that's how these things work. We want to acknowledge the incredible stories, culture, resilience and creativity of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, in particular the beautiful lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nations, where this podcast is recorded. Thank you also to Chris Pickering for the music and Vincent Pickering for the logo and animations. And yes, they are our brothers. We're everywhere.